Hi everyone, I'm Davide Callegari of Brew York, and this is the Brewer to Brewer podcast from All About Beer. Today my guest is Hugh O'Neill from Alesmith Brewery in San Diego, California, and we are going to have a conversation that goes beyond the brew house and into topics that matter for brewing professional but also very curious beer drinkers. So first of all, please visit allaboutbeer.com and follow on social media at allaboutbeer. And in particular, if you want to support journalism, independent journalism in the beer space, please make sure to check allaboutbeer.com/support if you want to give your support. We'll get into the conversation in just a moment, but first we'll have some messages.
Today's episode is brought to you by Stomp Stickers, your wallet-friendly partner in custom printing. Whether you're a small independent or larger franchise, Stomp's got the low minimums, bulk savings, and free shipping to help you save without skimping on quality. Join the thousands of breweries already cashing in on Stomp's value-packed service and get 15% off of your first order with code FIRSTRUN. As an industry-leading keg management partner, Keg Logistics delivers premium stainless steel kegs with the flexibility you truly need. Whether you're kegging your first batch or scaling your distribution, choose the program that fits. Rent to own, flexible term leasing, or pay per fill. Get top quality kegs without massive upfront costs and terms that grow with you. Thousands of brewers, cider makers, and wineries trust Keg Logistics to keep production flowing. Head to keglogistics.com/allaboutbeer for your custom quote. Keg Logistics, your kegs, your choice. Rahr, the brewer's standard two-row. Take a whiff and catch stray notes of grass and grain. Taste through mild flavors of sweet cereal and doughy golden bread. Brew with the brewer's standard two-row from Rahr Malting to provide a pale gold foundation for any beer style, allowing you to show off aromatic hops, specialty malts, or expressive yeast strains. Get your hands on Mordant IPA from Ghost Town Brewing to taste a gold medal IPA made with Rahr the brewer's standard two-row. Learn more at rahrbsg.com. Okay, this is big news. Ali and Ecos, the two worldwide leaders in brewery software, have joined forces and are now better together. That's right. These two are putting the gloves down and working together to build a smarter, more affordable tool to help brewers of all sizes streamline production and run their businesses with confidence and without spreadsheets. If you're tired of clunky software or, no judging here, still using spreadsheets, it might be time to see what Ecos and Ali are building together. Learn more at saynotospreadsheets.com. That's saynotospreadsheets.com.
Okay, welcome. I'm very pleased to have Hugh O'Neill here of Alesmith Brewery as my guest today. I'll just give you a quick recap of his history. Please, you feel free to jump in and add or correct me anytime that you feel like.
Okay,
Um,
thank you.
so, as most of us, you started home brewing in university. You do have quite an interesting story because you told me that you were brewing mead, ginger beer, kit beer, which seem pretty standard. But then you also told me that you founded Two Brew, which is a student-run brewery at Newcastle University, which is pretty interesting. I have to say it's a much more in-depth jump that what probably most of us did in university, definitely me.
Yeah, it was a
So
quick escalation.
yes, absolutely. It was like full on from the start. So you started in 2013, and the brewery at the university is still running today,
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
which is great to have something like that. It also got a grant from the National Union of Students, so it's definitely something that people that are interested in that area can jump in and try. So very well done. So you finished marine biology, so you're a fellow biologist as well. But then you decided that you wanted to go for brewing, which I can relate as well. So you joined Brewdog in Aberdeen with their production graduate scheme. So you started working in the lab, in brewing, in packaging, distilling, and operations. And then when they commissioned that 300 hectoliters brewery, you basically started working with the brewing team. Then in 2018, you left Scotland, you moved to London to join Beavertown as a senior brewer at the old Lockwood site that just now was closed down in North London. Just a year after, that was where we met as well, and we
Yep.
worked together for a bit. You left in 2021 and joined an unfortunately ill-fated startup brewery called CTZN.
Yeah, Citizen.
Yeah, Citizen, of course. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, I didn't even think about that. It did not survive COVID, unfortunately. That was unfortunately the fate of quite a few projects that I know about in the UK. So then you took some time to study in VLB for the Brewmaster course, which is a very quite well respected university for brewing in Berlin. So after graduating, you became head brewer at For Pure and then head brewer at the wonderful Twickenham Brewery. So you returned to cask beer, and I hope I remember. I'm going to ask you at least one question about cask beer.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Let's see if I remember. It's been a few months now. Maybe a little.
oh, it's a very simple thing. It's just like we will get to that. But then you worked there until April 25, and then you relocated in the US. In July, you started working as production planning manager at Alesmith Brewery.
Yep, yep, that's correct. Yeah, me and my wife moved over
Mhm.
because of her work. She's American. So
Mhm.
then I was kind of thrust into the US job
Mhm.
market searching, and we didn't actually plan to settle in San Diego necessarily. But
Okay.
it just really helped that she actually had family over here, and then
Mhm.
came to stay for a few weeks. And at that time, when I was still looking for work, Alesmith were hiring for this position, so
Mhm.
it all kind of like fell into place really well.
Good. That's good to hear. And are you liking it so far?
Yep, yep. I mean, I'm loving the role, and I mean, being in San Diego is fantastic. I definitely can't complain
Mhm.
about the sunshine. Um,
Mhm.
I think it's to put into Celsius, it's about 23, 24 Celsius today. Blue skies,
Nice.
not a cloud in the sky. Yeah,
Yeah.
can't complain.
Yeah, yeah, you can't. I live in New York, so please don't complain with me about
Yeah,
that because I mean you've been in Aberdeen, so you've
yeah.
seen, so that's okay. But okay, can you tell us a bit more about your current role in Alesmith? Because it's not directly production, it's mostly like supporting and so on. So maybe can you explain us a little bit about how do you integrate and how do you support production? What's your role exactly?
Yep, of course. So yeah, so I for most of my career I've been working directly in production as a brewer.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, So this is a bit of a shift away from that into this production planning manager role. And there's kind of like three aspects to this position, really. Um, so part of it is obviously the planning. So I work pretty closely with Stuart Sloan, who I actually share an office with. Um, and he's our sales ops manager. And we kind of work through the like ever-changing forecast of our brands, what's increasing and decreasing, and basically put together a plan for our own internal brands of what we want to produce, when we need to be producing it. Um, that's for kind of more of our wholesale stuff, and we have like a separate thing for our smaller batch and tasting room things that we go through once every 2 weeks. So we
Mhm.
like to, so we keep on top of the kind of demand for that. One kind of interesting thing that I hadn't really considered until I started this role was the influence that external factors will have on production. So for us, being in San Diego, the Padres, which is the baseball team, is almost like a religion over here. Um,
Okay.
that how the Padres are doing really impacts how much beer we have to make. So
Wow.
when
Okay.
they got into the playoffs at the end of last season, so we then suddenly start ramping up our production where we'd normally be kind of like tapering it off on some of the brands.
Mhm.
It's really interesting how that sport for the city just really impacts the production
Everything.
directly, and you have to
Mhm.
make sure you're kind of ahead of that. So we're actually kind of doing that now because the baseball season starts in less than a month. So
Right.
we're kind of ramping up production of our main brands ahead of that. Um,
Mhm.
So that's kind of one aspect of it is the planning side, and then that feeds into the other side, which is what I'm kind of responsible for sourcing our packaging materials. So all the trays, cartons, boxes, lids, pack techs, etc., etc. Um, some of that we do for our contract production as
Mhm.
well. So I'm covering that. Some of the contracts we do, they'll provide their own materials. Some of it we will completely cover all of it
Yeah.
for them.
Yes.
So you kind of doing a lot of juggling of, especially with storage space
Mhm.
in the
Oh,
warehouse,
yes.
of making sure there's enough space for our stuff that obviously we want to prioritize, but then making sure we have plenty of materials and space for incoming materials for our
Yes.
contract partners. So I think, yeah, I spend a lot of time now thinking less about malt and hops and more about cardboard and aluminium cans, which
Yeah.
is different, but it's fun and it's interesting, and you can kind of apply different things that you learn in brewing to that, like. Um, I've spent time ordering a lot of raw materials, so I don't handle any more raw materials these days, but you're just making sure that you don't run out of anything.
Yeah.
Um, and then, yeah, the other side of the role, which is kind of more of a growing part of the role, and for Alesmith as a business, is our contract brewing. I kind of
Mhm.
mentioned to you already that, like offline, that I can't really go into any specifics on the contracts that we do,
Mhm.
because otherwise I had to have like spoken to each different business and got
Brewery to
everything
see
to
if they're
discuss.
happy.
But we do
Yeah.
a lot of contract brewing. And that's just yeah, so I basically act as like an account manager for them. So we'll have regular meetings with them where they tell us what their production needs are. We'll then work to facilitate that in like a timely fashion. I'll then make sure that if we're the one supplying their materials, that I have everything they need to be able to produce their beer on time. I help work with them and different logistics partner companies to make sure we can ship their product to them direct or to distributors. Um, and then the one really fun thing about that is it's never dull because you're dealing with so many different contract
Yes.
customers and they all have slightly different needs. So you're kind of
Yes.
jumping from one conversation to another. And also, doing such a wide variety of contract production at the brewery. We have a lot of access of really great brands to try the
Mhm.
drinks of. So yeah, my fridge is always very well stocked.
Good. That's good. Yeah, like nowadays is the same in brewing, but it seems like it's even more for you in this role.
Yeah, I think like there's some like repeat stuff that happens throughout the week, but day to
Yeah.
day can really vary a lot.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's very exciting and dynamic role to be in.
Nice. So considering how different it is from when you were in production, is there anything that you miss from production, like the canning line breaking in four different points at the same time, or a pump that was doing perfectly fine, all of a sudden screaming like a cat through a cheese grater or something like that?
Yeah. Um, I think, I mean, any brewery seems to have issues with their canning lines, so that
Mhm.
happens to us now
Yeah.
and again. So like I I feel like I kind of feel lucky and slightly guilty because I'm not then directly impacted that because I'm not the one
Mhm.
in the production team who's like day to day is being delayed by that. I'm more experiencing it secondhand. So if there is those kind of issues with production that cause delays, it's definitely less stressful to me than it used to be, which
Yeah.
is a nice position to be in. Something I
I
miss,
understand.
I mean, like I think I don't want to necessarily brew beer every day. I've like
Mhm.
done that for the best part, over 10 years. So I think I've definitely made enough beer compared to the
Yeah.
average person. Um,
Yes.
but I think, mashing in on a manual brew house and just being completely in control and attuned to the process is definitely something I miss because you can kind of, especially when you know a brew house really well, if it's a manual one that
Yes.
maybe doesn't even have
Yeah.
flow meters, where you have to be hyper vigilant and focused and then
On top
see
of everything. Yeah.
yeah, and then seeing the results of that when you get like really good extract efficiency off a kit where yeah,
Yeah.
you
It
have
feels
no
good.
variable valves or flow meters. It's just, tapping a butterfly valve handle with your finger until you get it just right. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I miss that aspect of it, but
Yeah.
I think
There
maybe
is definitely a satisfaction related to it. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And that's kind of why I think a lot of people get into brewing is because they
start.
like
Yeah.
to be that part of the process. So I think I kind of missed that a little bit, but I think that I'm sure I can ask permission to maybe hop on our pilot kit one day to
Mhm.
just, like scratch that itch.
Yeah.
I'm not in a
Nice.
rush to do that yet because
Mhm.
I've never used that kit, so I'd
Oh
probably
yeah.
have to volunteer my own time to do that. But
Yes.
I think I have the option to do that if I need to.
Yeah, no, I think it's quite interesting because I think it is a thing that changed quite a bit throughout a lot of brewers' careers. So you do start and you always want to brew in the sense that you want to produce wort because
Yeah,
that's the
that's
not
brewing.
even creative. That's brewing. That's the brewing part. So everyone wants to brew. And I had this conversation many times with like maybe less experienced brewers that I was training or something like that. And I've been doing that for a while. And you get to a point where it's like, yes, I love brewing. I want to do that, but I've also done it so much. You do get to a point where you want to explore other aspects of related to the brewing business, brewing industry that are not necessarily just being on the brew kit or in the cellar.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. I don't know if you found that as well, kind of as you've like progressed through your career, but
yes,
the things that you found um, like initially interesting and were passionate about, you still have those feelings towards it, but you start to look at the bigger picture of things, and
yes, yes,
yeah, suddenly you can start finding real passion and satisfaction for reducing CO2 consumption or
yes,
chasing extract efficiencies or even like supply chain stuff or
yes.
yeah.
And it sounds dull, but like since you mentioned boxes, like sometimes the silliest thing, like finding a box supplier that's cheaper and more reliable is very satisfying.
Yeah,
So
and I think that's one of the great things in brewing that kind of makes it as an accessible career is that you can come into it with so many different varied experiences, and then there's so many
yes,
rabbit holes you can go down. You know, you can get
yeah,
into brewing as like as a biologist. I know you study genetics, a
mhm,
chemist, an
yeah,
engineer, like and there's so many rabbit holes you can go down. Like you could start like
yeah,
I went down one recently of looking at the tensile strength of our stretch film for wrapping
mhm,
pallets. It's like, if we
mhm,
can improve that, then that if we can find a better supplier for that or something a bit stronger, that
mhm,
can equate to savings for the brewery because we're not having lost product in transit. And
yes,
the US is a pretty big place. So when you're shipping stuff across the country, you have to make sure
yeah,
those pallets are as secure as possible. So that kind of little
absolutely,
tweak of like essentially what's a bit of plastic on a pallet can be thousands of pounds,
yes,
or
yeah, yeah.
thousands of dollars, should I say.
Yes, yeah, 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 of course, of course. Yeah, that's something that we don't think has much here in Europe. We do have other problems, but like we often forget how insanely massive the US is compared to
Yeah.
Europe. So yeah, it does make a difference. And like now, for example, there's a lot of things in both sides of the pond, I'm sure. A lot of things related to environmental impact uh, connected to brewing that are and definitely another rabbit hole that is quite interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah, I think again, I can only speak from what I see. Like I know Alesmith, we like to try and do things as sustainable as possible, um,
mhm,
and we're always looking for ways to improve on things. But I think the UK and Europe is maybe a bit more of a focus on sustainability. Like I know the
mhm,
past few
mhm.
years there's been so many so many breweries like
Yeah.
investing a lot more in that. So I think yeah, I think it would be great to kind of see that wave kind of come this side of the world as well.
I think for us it's been also really related to raw material availability.
Yeah.
So we hit the wall a bit harder here on a lot of things, CO2, for example. So people really started to think, oh, we have to do that. It's not just like we want to do that because it's good for an environment, but like, yeah, it's so yeah, no, I understand what you mean.
Yeah, the innovation's kind of forced by the circumstances.
Yes, yes. And
Like
like,
I remember the CO2 shortage in 2018.
mhm,
Like suddenly every single brewery across the UK was thinking up
And no
innovative
CO2.
ways of how to just stretch out
Yeah.
every yeah molecule of CO2.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. And you mentioned a few things, but like what's most interesting about your role? What's you're mostly excited about? Maybe like upcoming projects or something that you can tell us about.
Um, yeah, I think one of the things I love doing in my role is actually one of the meetings I have, which was actually happened 2 hours ago.
Mm,
We call it the go-to-market meeting, and that's where we have like a round table meeting with people in production, sales, and marketing, and the tap room, and we basically go through all the upcoming projects and like new beers and new products for wholesale and also our tasting room because we actually have a really huge tasting room here at Alesmith. So it's yeah,
mm, yeah.
it's enormous, and we have
Yeah. It's,
constant
it, it's
rotating
quite well
brewers.
known even on our side for that, to be fair.
Yeah. So we have a great meeting of that, and basically I just really love being in a position where I'm in the room where that's all happening versus kind of being
Mm,
more hands-on in production. You kind of sometimes are a bit more hyper focused on the day to day, and this
mm,
we're looking at the full calendar year and adding things in and seeing like, oh, who's
mm,
responsible for what? Is that done? Okay, great, we can move this on to the next stage. So that's really exciting to be in a position where I can be part of that. Um, and yeah, have a direct impact on some of that. Granted, I'm not making the recipes, I'm not doing the fun stuff. I'm
mm.
just telling people that, yep, I've ordered those cans and those boxes for you so we can get it going. But
Yes,
it's
quite
definitely still
important
an
as well.
element. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. It's
So,
definitely rewarding to see those products come to market and then to hear
mm,
the feedback that we get on them. So one of them actually recently, we not beer related, but we started producing an espresso martini end of last year, like a canned nitro espresso martini,
mhm.
and that was
Yeah.
just doing so well. We had this
Mhm.
coffee and beer kind of collaboration event this past weekend where we did four different coffee and beer collaborations with different breweries like Society,
Mhm.
Pizza Port,
Yeah.
um, using these incredible coffees. And um, yeah, I think we almost sold out of all those small batch beers within a
Mhm.
day. And then our new nitro stout and our espresso martini were just flying off the shelves as
Mm.
well. So yeah, being able to be kind of part of those things is really fun. It's like when I worked at Twickenham, for example, I made a fake Untapped account just so I could keep tabs on how our beers are doing in the market because I don't really do Untapped or rate beer myself.
Exactly the same
Um,
for me.
and you
Yeah.
can go down a dark path with reading those reviews.
Yes.
So I like to just keep like a general view of like, oh, how are things doing and stuff.
What's happening? Yes.
And now I don't need to do that with our beers because we're kind of getting the almost immediate feedback of customers in the tap
Mhm.
room and hearing how things are
That's
doing at
nice.
wholesale. So yeah, it's very rewarding.
Yeah. Good. Nice. And like to introduce a bit of a subject that we'll go through also after our break. Uh, one thing that is quite interesting to me about your experience is that like if I think about here in Europe and UK, you quite often hear about whenever someone from the US come over. So you always have stories about American brewers, sorry, coming over and working for some UK brewery or European brewery, and they had experience in like very well-known, hyped breweries from the US, while we don't hear quite as much about people that do the other. They go the other way around, which is what you did. So you started in Europe and you went to the US, which I'm sure that is something that it happens more than we realize. So I'd like to ask you a bit about like what's your experience in changing, like how different it is. For example, just to start, what would you say, how different is the craft beer scene in the US compared to what you left in UK when you were here?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, I think at the start you kind of asked about like European brewers being in the US. Unfortunately, I don't think I know any. I was really trying to
Okay.
rack my brains then. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't deal with any other Europeans.
So it is something that happens less frequently, I suppose.
I think so, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the only person I've spoken to is actually a British guy who works for one of the scientific supply, like lab supply companies that we deal with.
Okay. Mm,
So like he phoned me one day and he turned out he was yeah, a fellow Brit, so we kind of like
mm,
caught up about things in the UK.
yeah.
So it's kind of yeah, it's a weird one to be able to compare the US versus the UK in craft beer, especially because I worked at some pretty well established breweries in the UK.
Mm,
And then Alesmith has been going for 30 years.
yeah.
We actually
Very
celebrated
well established.
30th year end of last year. And, you know, they're kind of one of the old guard of craft beer. So
Mhm.
everything's like very well set up and established. So it feels very familiar. So there's not like a
Mm,
huge comparison that I could really say, again, because I've worked at quite a few varied UK breweries. But I think on the whole, like a bigger picture thing, the feeling that I got from being in the UK and going to like LBA meetings and like following news articles and speaking to other
yeah.
brewers, it did seem there was still a lot of doom and gloom in the industry. A lot of it is
Mm,
kind of warranted because you know there's things that the government are changing with taxing and business rates on
mm.
pubs that has an impact
Oh, yes.
on production. And you know, post COVID, like pubs have been struggling a lot, and you know,
Mm,
energy costs rising. So I think there's a larger focus on the negative in the UK. I can't really speak to Europe as much, but I think it's probably similar a little bit. Um,
yes.
and
Yeah,
I think in
absolutely.
the US, even though there are still issues facing that, you know, different tariff things ongoing for the
Mm,
past year or so, you know, which impacts, you know, buying cans and can lids and stuff because they come
yes.
from
Yeah, yeah.
aluminium. I, th I think there's still more optimism in the US.
Mhm, mhm,
I know that overall, you know, looking at like a global level, like national level for like everywhere, like beer sales are down and stuff, and things are pivoting to
mhm.
different drinks, which I don't think it's a bad thing to pivot if you're a brewery to be making like a high quality RTD,
Yeah.
and doing like different drinks. Like we make NA stuff, we make cider. So I think
Mhm,
diversifying is good, but I think yeah, UK versus Europe, I think there's still a lot more optimism in the US for the
mhm.
industry as a whole, which is kind of funny because I did see some negative feedback about the GABF this year, the Great American Beer Festival. I unfortunately
Mhm,
didn't attend, but I know that there was some people talking about RTDs being so prevalent there as a negative
mhm.
thing. But you know, craft beer is all about innovation, and I
Yeah.
think that innovation can extend beyond just the word beer. You could kind of almost think of yourself as a craft drink
Yeah.
company.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
as long as you can still keep making beer, then
Yeah.
I think that's a win.
Yes. No, exactly. That's honestly that's something that surprised me a bit as well because I've seen that on our side, definitely for RTDs, but also, for example, for alcohol-free.
Yeah,
Sometimes now it's changing finally. Now I think we came around with alcohol-free beers, but like for quite a long time, a lot of people had such a negative reaction to alcohol-free beer. It's like people,
yeah,
oh, it's not real beer. Why are breweries wasting time on that? They should make real beer and that's it. But like the whole concept around craft breweries was to innovate, to do different things.
yeah,
Everything started because people were bored about brewing the same six beers all the time and they wanted something new. This is something new,
yeah, yeah,
which also covers a different like niche of drinkers that don't want to drink alcohol, that they still want the flavor. And it's the same about RTDs. I think they have a bad reputation because people associate them with like mass produced like artificial flavored stuffs, which is yeah, it's not even the same product category. Like you can do very high quality RTDs using real ingredients. You mentioned like for example espresso martini. How many things can you do like picking like different coffees and so on? If you use like high quality ingredients, you can definitely do very good drinks.
yeah. I can understand like with people thinking a brewery doing an RTD is trying to make something kind of cheaper and faster that you know
Yeah, like
generates cash flow.
yeah, it's
I can
cheating
only
a bit.
speak, yeah, but I can only speak to like the ones we make, and we've got a new one called Hoptails coming out soon. But
Mhm.
with our espresso martini, it's the most labor intensive product we make. Like
Yeah.
we can make it. we want to keep that quality there, and we put so much like really good quality Vietnamese coffee into it that
Mhm.
our head brewer and head of quality both like have selected and are keeping like continuous improvement on. But we, yeah, it because it's a really high quality coffee, we can't buy it in bulk, so it's coming in like
Mhm.
individual bags
Yeah.
because it's so like a smaller batch thing. So the poor brewers have to empty a lot of small bags into those
Mm.
batches. So if yeah, making a quick, simple, easy RTD was the goal, we've definitely done that very badly at Alesmith.
Yes.
But I
Yeah.
think quality shows through on it, and I think that's what people need to remember is just because one thing was perceived in such a way previously from like macro companies, as you said,
Mhm.
like with NA beers, doesn't mean that we have to play by the same rules. You can take
No,
these
exactly.
niche products and really apply the
Absolutely.
same level of passion and quality to
Yeah.
them.
And to be fair, maybe not so much in UK because UK has such a long brewing tradition, but like in a lot of contexts, beer itself for quite a long time was looked down compared to wine, for example.
Yeah.
Look how things changed over time, and that was because people started to do more and more high quality products, experimenting with ingredients and so on. So it's kind of the same path.
Yeah, for sure. And I've not tried many non-alcohol wines, but I think
Mm.
if I had to choose between a non-alcoholic beer and a non-alcoholic wine, I'm choosing that beer every day.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I agree. I agree as well. Okay, we'll have a short break for some messages, and we'll be back in a moment and go on with our conversation.
As an industry leading keg management partner, Keg Logistics delivers premium stainless steel kegs with the flexibility you truly need. Whether you're kegging your first batch or scaling your distribution, choose the program that fits. Rent to own, flexible term leasing, or pay per fill. Get top quality kegs without massive upfront costs and terms that grow with you. Thousands of brewers, cider makers, and wineries trust Keg Logistics to keep production flowing. Head to keglogistics.com/allaboutbeer for your custom quote. Keg Logistics, your kegs, your choice. Here's a money saving tip from stompstickers.com. Their version discounts. Ordering different beer labels in the same size, shape, and material, just add everything to your cart and you'll automatically get a discount. Get 15% off of your first order with code FIRSTRUN. Rahr, the brewer's standard two-row. Take a whiff and catch stray notes of grass and grain. Taste through mild flavors of sweet cereal and doughy golden bread. Brew with the brewer's standard two-row from Rahr Malting to provide a pale gold foundation for any beer style, allowing you to show off aromatic hops, specialty malts, or expressive yeast strains. Get your hands on Mordant IPA from Ghost Town Brewing to taste a gold medal IPA made with Rahr the brewer's standard two-row. Learn more at rahrbsg.com. Have you spent countless hours juggling multiple spreadsheets, handwritten notes, and disconnected systems? In this business, time really is money. That's why Ali and Ecos have teamed up to bring you the most powerful craft beverage management platforms in the industry. Whether you're a craft brewery, distillery, cidery, winery, or even cannabis beverage operation, producers like you are saving up to 10 hours a week so they can focus on increasing sales. Stop wasting your time in endless cells and rows and start catching up. Learn how you can save time and money at saynotospreadsheets.com. That's saynotospreadsheets.com.
Okay, welcome back to Brewers Talk. We were talking about a few things, differences between Europe and UK, RTDs and alcohol-free beers, perception around that. So it was quite interesting. It's like always interesting to know when people are doing something new, even if, again, in the beginning, maybe it gets a bad reputation for whatever reason. But as we say, it's important to like try to do new things and try to do them well. So, and considering still a bit about the brewing environment in general where you are, we can't really speak about the US because as I've said, the US is so big that sometimes here in Europe we don't realize how different the culture is, so the drinking culture is. But like how do you find your customer base where you are now? How are the beer drinkers? Do you think it's different from how it is, how you perceived it in Europe, in the UK? Do you think the market is different? People like different things?
Um, I think they're pretty similar, but again, I can only really speak to like my
Mm,
experience
yeah, of
mostly
course.
like
Like,
it being in London, where there's a lot
yeah.
of amazing brewery. There's a whole craft brewing scene. Um,
Mhm,
like here in like San Diego is one of the like main beer cities in the US, if not the
mhm,
world. Like I think
yeah.
there's a really thriving culture here. Like where I live, I'm only about 10-minute drive away from the brewery. And we're surrounded by different craft drink companies. So there's like cideries, distilleries, other
Mhm,
breweries, like hard kombucha. Like
mhm.
there's a White Labs tasting room, like 10-minute walk from my house.
I,
I've still not been to, but where they are like showcasing all these different like things that the yeast that they make can do to beer. Um,
nice.
so like yeah, it's honestly insulting that I've not been there yet. So I should maybe go this weekend. But yeah, I think there's like an incredible culture of craft beer in San Diego. Um, and I think it's still very collaborative. So that same kind of collaborative
Mhm,
energy you have in the UK of like breweries
mhm,
working together, we still have that. You know, we will have breweries reach out to us to maybe borrow some equipment, vice versa. So I think that friendliness of the industry is still there, even though it's still super competitive because you know in the US
mhm.
you're having to deal with selling to distributors as well for
Yes,
the whole
I
aspect.
yeah.
So it's kind of really good to see that friendly collaborative nature is still very much alive in the US. Like yeah,
Mm,
as I kind of said before, we just did a collab with four different breweries for
mm,
these coffee beer things. Um, so yeah, I think it's a really, really healthy culture over here for craft
mm,
beer. I think one of the kind of things I've always found fascinating of the US versus the UK is, you know, the UK we have such a strong traditional pub culture. In the
yes.
US, you know, the bars are a bit different. You kind of um, they're kind of faster paced service. So, you know, if you're not buying something, they're kind of like hinting at you to, they'll give you the bill and try and get you out so they can get other customers.
Okay.
Versus in a pub in the UK, you can be kind of lounging around like all day if you want
Oh
to.
yeah.
Um,
Sitting next to a fire and like
yeah,
yeah, getting
exactly.
three
Yeah.
beers that last 6 hours.
Yep. Throw in a roast dinner there, watch some sports.
Mm,
I think the tap rooms for craft breweries in the US kind of fulfill that niche where people can go and hang out for like a
mhm,
whole day. They'll bring like their kids with them and like dogs and
mhm,
stuff. And just like have like a family hangout space where you're not being rushed and you can just kind of order at your leisure, which I
mhm,
think that's a really amazing thing in the craft industry has kind of given to the US that should definitely be recognized and celebrated.
mhm. Nice. And do you miss anything so far from Europe,
Um,
UK?
Weirdly, this is aside from brewing, but weirdly, I actually missed the rain. So the first like 6 weeks
Okay,
I was living here,
okay.
it didn't
That's the
rain
first.
once. And when it dawned on me that I hadn't felt rain for 6 weeks, I was like, oh wow, this is really weird. Don't worry, it's rained a lot since then. It was raining a lot last week in San Diego. So
Okay.
I've had my fill. Um, with regards to beer, I mean a good pint of cask beer.
Here we go.
We've dabbled a little bit in cask beer at Alesmith, but kind of just for big special
Mhm,
events. So we did some stuff in casks for our like birthday celebration, but I didn't
mhm,
actually attend it, so I've still not tried any of our beer on cask.
mhm,
Um, so it'd be great if I can like try and influence that to be back on the
mhm.
market a little bit. Like we have some hand pulls in the tap room, so
Yeah,
maybe
nice.
I need to be the one just in there actually buying it and drinking it all the
Mhm,
time
mhm,
to try and start that process. But yeah, a really good pint of cask beer in a British pub, especially if it's like a little bit cold outside and you do have a fire and
yes.
sports on. But there's apparently a really good pub in San Diego called the Shakespeare, which is like a British pub.
Okay.
Apparently they have cask on there, so I was planning to go soon. I was going to go for the last Six Nations game in about 3 weeks or so. So I'm really
Mhm.
hoping that the cask beer there is good, and that
Nice.
they're looking after the lines. Because
Good. Yeah.
if they do look after it and cellar it well, then I will definitely be going there regularly.
Nice. Good. Good to know that something like that exists. So I mentioned one question that I wanted to ask, and it is related to cask beer, and it's a very simple question. Sparkler or non-sparkler?
Ooh, I'm gonna say sparkler. I kind of like the thicker head on the beer. I'm
Okay.
from the Midlands originally. I'm from
Yeah.
Birmingham, so the sparkler debate is kind of north and south for us
Yes.
and each other. Um, and yeah, I think coming from the Midlands, I can just happily sit on the fence and not really care
Yeah.
too much. But
Fair enough.
I think having the thicker head helps.
Yes. And it's a bit of the same for me. I'm not even from the UK, so I can pick whatever side I want.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't own any allegiance to anyone, so I can just yeah. I do agree though.
Yeah,
Sparkle is
I
Sparkle
think
is absolutely valid.
At Twickenham, we would just, on a Friday evening when we'd finish up and the brew was clean, we'd be gravity pouring beers
Mm,
straight from the cask. So it's just fantastic because it's fresh, but
yeah.
it just falls a little bit flat. And it's like, if we had a hand pump, it would just elevate this so much better.
Yeah.
I think sparkler.
Yes. Okay. Very good to know. Okay. Um, mm, mm, mm. Uh, okay, that might be something that you can only give partial answer because you've not been there for so long, but something about working condition. So we I think it was the same for you. We don't go into brewing because it's a very economically rewarding career.
Yep.
It's mostly like a passion career.
Yep. You have
So
to have
do
the
you
passion for sure.
yeah, how different it is working condition wise or working wise between US and Europe or UK for what you've seen so far?
Um, Again, that's kind of a difficult one to answer because the
Mhm.
only insight I have, that I can speak to, that I've witnessed myself is at Alesmith, really.
Mhm.
And I think it's pretty similar to the UK. I think Alesmith, we
Mhm.
don't run 24-hour shift patterns, which is something I
Mhm.
really don't like.
Yeah.
We're making a
Yes.
lot of beer and we run two shifts a day.
Mhm.
So kind of running from 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. So I think that's pretty standard. It'd be lovely if, breweries could just work 9 to 5, 4 days a week, but it's not always
Mhm.
realistic. Um, so I think, yeah, I don't think the team are doing crazy hours, they're pretty
Mhm.
regulated. Of course, there's long days where equipment breaks down or something like that,
Yeah,
and something
of
is
course.
due to be shipped out. And then, we have a daily production meeting twice a day, and we start off each meeting with discussing safety issues or concerns or
Mhm.
updates on fixes. So I think, yeah, very similar to the UK where things are kind of talked about, at least for Alesmith. I do
Yeah.
follow quite a few Instagram pages, like the Wart
Mhm.
Wrangler and things like that, and I
Yeah.
think the clips and pictures you see on those pages are usually more US focused, and I think some of the things I've seen on there definitely are concerning. If you're seeing smaller
Yeah.
breweries where they're not doing things as safe,
No, I
opening
know.
the mash tun on a stuck mash and just watching this tidal wave of almost, yeah,
Hot
just
liquor.
super
Yeah.
hot liquid just pouring into someone's boots is terrifying. And that's not to
Yes.
say that doesn't happen in the UK, but I think
Oh, yeah, absolutely does.
yeah,
So.
so I think yeah, I thought yeah, it's kind of the same really. Uh,
Yes, yeah, and of course, you do also have which is something that maybe we're a bit more used to think about when from our side, because it's what we see on social media, because it's what gets viral.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily the reality for
Yeah,
the
it's
vast
the
majority
exception
of
to the
people
rule.
working. Yeah, it's more the exception than the rule, exactly. And those pages are funny, but
Yeah.
they're also like they also give like a very like biased representation of reality, of course.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And
So
it's good to highlight what not to do as
yeah,
well.
yeah, absolutely. We
Um,
all learn through that,
and
trying
I,
things that yeah.
yeah, I think with the US as well, I know like they have the OSHA like safety kind of like standards.
Mhm.
But I think things do vary state by state, so not just for like the
Yes.
actual like
Mm.
working safety, but like occupational safety, but just like kind of the rights that you have as
Mhm.
staff
Yes.
members and things that you have
Yeah.
access to do vary quite a lot. So it's pretty
Mhm.
lucky to be working in California, which is kind of one of the more progressive
Yeah.
states.
Mhm.
So I can't speak to what it would be like working in a smaller craft brewery that doesn't have like
Mhm.
like a more established like safety kind of structure
Yeah.
in somewhere where they don't have as tighter regulations. So yeah,
Mhm.
I really can't speak to the safety more than that,
Mhm.
or the working conditions, but
Yeah.
yeah.
And going back to something, going back to something a bit lighter and more fun, hopefully. How much have you tried so far about like other breweries around you? Is there something that you're excited about? You did say that there's a lot of variability. There's also like hard kombucha, cider, and so on. So you have a lot to try. Did you find something that you really said, oh wow, that's new and that's very interesting and something that like you fell in love with, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's so much variety of stuff to choose from. I feel like I've barely scratched the surface of what's available
Mhm.
in just in San Diego, let alone the rest of the US.
Yeah, exactly,
Um,
which is again massive.
yeah, I'm trying to think of, I think style-wise or something that's different. I don't know. I think it's just having like fresh West Coast IPAs on the West Coast is just
Hmm.
a blessing to
Yes.
have access to that. It's always
Yeah.
been one of my favorite styles. I kind of like the like
Agreed.
bitter piney resinous IPAs. And
Yes.
obviously, Alesmith who makes some fantastic ones, but I feel like I can't keep only covering our brands. But one of my favorite breweries in San Diego, aside from Alesmith, is Pizza Port. Um,
Hmm.
and my brother and sister-in-law actually live just down the street from their Ocean Beach location. So I've been there a few times. Like the beers that they make is fantastic, and the pizzas as well they do are incredible.
Nice.
So yeah, I think having access to just like fresh West Coast IPAs is really good.
Yeah, that's
But the kind of
awesome.
funny thing is that when I was back in London and like thinking of like, oh, I really wish I could have like a really hoppy, like fresh West Coast IPA. Now that I'm there and having it, I kind of now are craving the like traditional European styles. Like I haven't
Yes.
had a saison for like over a
Mm.
year now.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, like we have like some European styles in you can get in different supermarkets and like
Mhm.
drinks stores. Um, but I think that yeah, the access is just limited. So then that's kind
Yeah,
of
of course.
what you
Of
crave.
course. And it's the same on our side, for example, with West Coast, like which is a style that I really like as well. And it's not as popular as maybe it used to be, or it's not as available as it used to be. For example, for us, we are a brewery that is extremely good at making West Coasts, at least for the UK standard.
Yeah,
I'm not comparing with the real ones, but like then we do hazes most of the time because
yeah.
that's what the market requires. So I'm glad to know that West Coast are big and strong where they were born, basically.
Yeah, yeah, they're still going strong. There is a lot of hazies, like really, really good
Yeah, of
hazy
course.
IPAs as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully, I'm one thing I'm interested to see actually, kind of going back to
Mm.
UK versus European is like Irish stouts have been growing so much in the UK the past few years. I know there was
Yes.
the shortage of Guinness happening last year, and so
Yes.
many different breweries jumped on the opportunity to like really push their own like nitro
Nitro
stouts and
stouts.
stuff.
Hmm.
We actually released one at Alesmith recently, so I'm really hoping
Nice. Okay.
that kind of picks up as a
Mm.
trend over here. I'd love to have access to more Irish stouts, but I think they don't really go hand in hand with sunshine and super hot weather that
Yeah,
much.
sure.
For most people, I'd
Yeah,
drink a Guinness on the beach, but
yeah,
that
but
might be the
that's a bit.
exception.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yes, we are a bit special on that side. And is it really so much of a different market alcohol-wise? So do you really like does really people go do really people go for stronger beers?
Yeah, I think the US craft beer definitely skews higher ABV. So like
Yeah.
you're kind of really not going to see that many beers
Mm.
under 6%. Maybe,
Yeah.
like Mexican style lagers are going to be around
Mm.
5%. But yeah, a lot of our IPAs are 6 to 7%.
Yeah.
Um, which actually, that would be, I think, a potential interesting trend if that happened in the US of skewing towards more sessionable beers,
Hmm.
where people are kind of, with the rise of um, non-alcoholic beers becoming better, and like some people are in that position where, they're trying to cut back on their drinking, but they still enjoy the flavor and the ritual. They just want to have something a bit more mid-strength. I think that could be a really interesting thing that could happen in the US, of,
Hmm.
having IPAs and pale ales more in the like 4 to 4.5%
Yes. Yeah.
thing. Yeah, I think that would be a pretty cool thing to see. But yeah, they definitely skew stronger, which you have to be careful.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, and we have a descending trend actually at the moment because, well, UK has always been like a mostly low ABV market. And now we have, like you mentioned it, new regulation and new tax on alcohol. So the old 3.8% limit is now 3.4%.
Yeah,
So that pushed a lot of breweries, either like more established breweries mostly changed their core brand from 3.8 to 3.4, or like usually craft breweries just started making 3.4 beers. So now everyone has a 3.4 beer, which is low, I suppose. But yeah,
yeah, yeah,
there is definitely might also be connected with perceived price, for example. So people tend to drink lighter recently for on our side, which is not really a trend that is happening there yet, at least.
yeah. I think like the kind of different encroaching regulations on ABV that
Mm.
happen in the UK aren't happening over here. Again, I know it
Mm.
does vary state by state on like the limits of like how strong beers can be.
Yes.
So
Mm.
I'm really not familiar enough with all
No,
these other states, but um,
that's another rabbit hole that's quite complicated.
yeah, absolutely. Um, so yeah, it'd be interesting to see if a similar thing would happen over here, whether that would be born out of necessity of kind of
Mm.
regulations and tax changing, or if it would just be more of like a health conscious shift
Mhm.
towards kind of more moderate drinking.
Yeah. And Alesmith is not making alcohol-free yet, or is it? Is it?
Yeah, yeah, we
Okay,
carry
you are okay.
yeah, non-alcoholic IPA and a
Mhm.
non-alcoholic version of our Speedway Stout.
Okay, okay. Oh, non-alcoholic stout. That's interesting. That's
Yeah,
something that we in here is not so common yet. Probably because there is really one alcohol-free dark beer, which is Guinness Zero. So people are
yeah.
still locked into that, and like if you want alcohol-free dark beer, that's Guinness Zero, and that's it.
Yeah, I must admit I have some in the fridge downstairs.
Yes, it's a very good beer.
That's very good. Yeah.
It's a very good beer. There's
I can't
nothing wrong
think of,
about it, and we have to admit it's a very good beer.
yeah, whatever your views are on macro beer versus craft beer, yeah, Guinness Zero is really
Yes.
good. Um,
I mean, they were in a position to open up a market because, for example, I was working in Ireland when that got big, but Ireland was a really skeptical market for, for any kind of alcohol-free beer. It
Yeah.
was not really a thing before that. People were looking down at it. It's like, oh, it's not real beer. It doesn't taste right. Of course, like the alcohol-free beers that were available were not the best. I have to say, like like the most commercial and least interesting alcohol-free beer that you can get. So
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
did really have a bad reputation. And Guinness came out with a beer that really tastes like a Guinness and it is alcohol-free. And it was a massive and instant shift. And now it's everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy the growth
Yeah.
of that product. And yeah, like you said, it's I think I can't think of another non-alc beer that is as close to the alcoholic version
Alcoholic version,
than that
yes.
one. It really helps if you're one of the biggest brewers on the planet. You have the equipment
Yes.
and
To do
people
that, yes.
to pull that off.
Yes.
That's why I think, any craft brewery making a non-alcoholic beer and doing it well is something definitely to be celebrated. I know,
Hmm.
people not in the industry don't really understand, maybe why it costs kind of a similar amount and like what goes into it. They think, yeah, I guess they just don't understand like the level of work that goes into it and how varied it is as well. To be able to make
Yes.
something low alcohol or no alcohol and have it also be shelf stable as well
Yes.
is yeah, there's a lot of science and know-how that goes into it.
You have to put a lot of care into making it. It takes almost as much time. It takes almost as much ingredients, like a little bit less malt, I suppose. But then you end up spending more if you want to get like proper hop products that work in an alcohol-free beer. So it's, yeah, we do, and we are trying to do more alcohol-free beers. And I think we're pretty good at making them. But yeah, there is this struggle that people consider, like they see it costs less because which is mostly like tax on alcohol that are missing. But for us, the price is high.
Yeah, so much other factors to consider of what goes into it.
Yeah. But yeah, again, like going back to Guinness, whatever you can think about it, whatever it's your position about macro, they did open a market for also everyone else, hopefully. Like a small brewery wouldn't have pulled it out. It's like you could not make such a big shift launching like a small version of like a small craft beer and convince all of a sudden everyone that alcohol-free beer is good. So
Yeah,
you,
absolutely.
you
Like
need the means that they have that none of us has to pull that trick.
yeah, like you wouldn't have craft beer in the same way if it wasn't for people wanting something different from macro beer. So, once
Yes,
those gates
totally.
open of a product existing, being on the
Yeah,
market, that's when people will have it and then think, oh, what else is out there? What else can I try?
yes. Yeah. And I guess it's a bit of like, I don't know how it was for you, but like a lot of people, the first non-macro lager beer they had was Guinness,
Yeah.
at least in on our side. So it's a continuing tradition, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. I was pretty much in the same boat. I worked in an Irish pub when I was 18 that had 12 Guinness
Mm.
taps on. That was the first non-lager beer I had.
Yes, yeah. And, me too. When it was like, let's say 18.
Yeah, for legal purposes, let's say 18.
It's different where I'm from. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay. Okay, one last question that might be, again, it might be a bit of a loaded question, but like if you want to say something to your fellow brewers in Europe, considering your experience so far, what would you tell them?
Um, I guess this kind of going back to something we kind of talked about a little bit already, but appreciating what you have like in your own backyard, essentially.
Mhm,
Like as I said, but when I'd be in London, I was like craving West Coast IPAs, and now that I'm here, I'm wanting like European styles. I think
mhm,
like don't always try and emulate what's happening and trending in other places. I know
mhm,
like in the industry generally, craft beer kind of originated in the US and we've been kind of following it in the UK and Europe and like what happens in the US, we then will kind of copy those trends. Um, I think celebrating what is kind of local to you in your
Mhm.
area and the kind of brewing tradition and heritage there is something to really focus on. And
Mhm.
yeah, I think yeah, that's I'm trying to think of a better way to put it, but
And
yeah,
yeah, no, no, I perfectly understand. I think like it's very easy to give things for granted, basically, when you're
yeah,
used to them. And
yeah, and
like,
think the grass is always greener.
yes, and the grass is always greener somewhere else. So yeah, very good. Thank you. Okay, I think we can wrap up. I think it's been a very interesting conversation. It was great to see you again. I hope you'll have a great time where you are, and maybe I'll hope to come and visit you at some point.
Oh, absolutely. And likewise, next time I'm back in the UK, I'd love to come up because
Let me know,
actually, yeah,
absolutely.
Tonkoko Stout is one of my favorite
Oh,
styles
nice. Thank
in the
you.
UK. I wish Tonka bean was legal in the US.
Oh,
It's actually
yes, because
illegal.
it's
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 such
it's
a good
still not,
flavor.
yeah.
Yeah. But yes, thank you
Yeah,
so
but,
much for having me on, David.
mm, yeah. No, that's interesting. That's another thing that shapes the industry in a weird way. It's like regulation that decides what you can use and what you can't use.
Yeah, for sure.
I, I, I'll, I'll reserve some Tonkoko for you for sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. And you'll be back in the next episode interviewing someone yourself. So
Yep.
be sure, everyone, be sure to follow up and listen to that as well. And as a reminder, please visit allaboutbeer.com and follow on social media at allaboutbeer. If you want to support journalism in the beer space, check allaboutbeer.com/support. I'm Davide Callegari of Brew. Thank you very much for listening Brewer to Brewer podcast, and thanks you to be here.
Thank you very much.
Have you spent countless hours juggling multiple spreadsheets, handwritten notes, and disconnected systems? In this business, time really is money. That's why Ali and Ecos have teamed up to bring you the most powerful craft beverage management platforms in the industry. Whether you're a craft brewery, distillery, cidery, winery, or even cannabis beverage operation, producers like you are saving up to 10 hours a week so they can focus on increasing sales. Stop wasting your time in endless cells and rows and start catching up. Learn how you can save time and money at saynotospreadsheets.com. That's saynotospreadsheets.com. Rahr, the brewer standard two row. Take a whiff and catch stray notes of grass and grain. Taste through mild flavors of sweet cereal and doughy golden bread. Brew with the brewer's standard two row from Rahr Malting to provide a pale gold foundation for any beer style, allowing you to show off aromatic hops, specialty malts, or expressive yeast strains. Get your hands on Mordant IPA from Ghost Town Brewing to taste a gold medal IPA made with Rahr the Brewer Standard two row. Learn more at rahrbsg.com. As an industry leading keg management partner, Keg Logistics delivers premium stainless steel kegs with the flexibility you truly need. Whether you're kegging your first batch or scaling your distribution, choose the program that fits. Rent to own, flexible term leasing, or pay per fill. Get top quality kegs without massive upfront costs and terms that grow with you. Thousands of brewers, cider makers, and wineries trust Keg Logistics to keep production flowing. Head to keglogistics.com/allaboutbeer for your custom quote. Keg Logistics, your kegs, your choice. Stompstickers.com is brewed for budget-conscious brewers. From automatic version discounts to loyalty program that earns you points across all of their product lines, every order works harder for your bottom line. Want even more ways to save? Sign up for their emails and get regular coupon codes delivered straight to your inbox. Try stompstickers.com today and save 15% with code FIRSTRUN.